אוקיי, בוקר טוב לכולם, שלום. תודה שהצטרפתם אלינו. ברשותכם אנחנו נחכה עוד 3 דקות לחבר'ה שמאחרים, ואז נתחיל. אלכס? Can you see if we have other people in the waiting room?
No, we've admitted everybody, so I think we're good to go.
Okay, אחלה. So I'll start in Hebrew and then I will switch back to English. אז שלום לכולם, שלום לכולן. תודה רבה שהצטרפתם אלינו היום. תודה על הזמן שלכם. אני באמת, מי שלא מכיר, נעים מאוד, שמי אור, אני מנהל הקהילה בחיים בסביבה, אני מאוד שמח לראות אתכם כאן היום. אנחנו בעצם, ההכשרה הזו היא חלק ממהלך של 2 הכשרות, ביחד עם הצוות של מאנדיי. אלכס תכף יציג את עצמו, הוא מהצוות של מאנדיי ישראל, ובעצם ההכשרה היום, המטרה שלה זה יותר היכרות כללית. אנחנו נשמח גם לקבל את השאלות מכם, ובעוד שבועיים מהיום תהיה הכשרה פיזית יותר מעמיקה, שבה אנחנו נוכל גם להיכנס לרבדים יותר מקצועיים של התוכנה. אני יכול להגיד שאנחנו בחיים בסביבה גם משתמשים במאנדיי, ואנחנו גם מנסים, זאת אומרת, עוד לומדים את המערכת בעצמנו ומרגישים שיש הרבה פוטנציאל פה, במיוחד בהקשר שמאנדיי גם מציעים איזשהם מסלולים מוזלים לעמותות. אנחנו מרגישים שבאמת יש כאן פוטנציאל גם להכניס לתוך הקהילה, ולכן אנחנו מאוד שמחים באמת לעשות את ההכשרות האלו, מאוד שמחים שהצטרפתם אלינו היום. 2 נקודות אחרונות, ההכשרה תתקיים באנגלית, אנחנו כבר נעביר את השרביט בחזרה לאלכס, אבל אנחנו ניקח גם שאלות בעברית, בסדר? אז אם אתם רוצים, אלכס גם מבין עברית ויודע לענות, גם אנחנו כאן, אני ידע לתרגם, אז במידה ויש שאלות שתרצו לשאול בעברית זה בסדר גמור. בנוסף, שלחתי בצ'אט מילון מונחים, שאלכס הולך להשתמש בהם, לחזור עליהם לאורך הוובינר, אז יש לכם שם גם בתוך הצ'אט את המונחים עצמם, וגם מי שרוצה לפתוח את זה כקובץ נפרד, שיהיה לו בחלון נוסף, יש שם גם קישור. בזה אני חושב שאנחנו נסיים, ואלכס, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for joining. It's really great to see people passionate about the environment and people passionate about working in smarter and more efficient ways. I hope, thanks to Monday.com. So thank you everyone for joining. Welcome. My name is Alex, as all said, and I'll begin today by just running through a quick agenda of what I have planned for the next hour, and then we'll jump into some content. So I'll start with an introduction of myself and then of Monday.com. I'm aware that there may be some people here who already use Monday. That's amazing. If you do, you can let us know in the chat what you're using it for. And if you're brand new for Monday, I'm going to start at the very beginning. First of all, just explaining what it can do, even before we take a look at how it works. And most important of all, I will explain how you can apply to join our free nonprofit program. In fact, I'm going to put a link in the chat right now. You should also have received that link in your email. This is where you can open an account without paying anything. And I'll explain exactly how we can make sure that you join our nonprofit program where you get even more added benefits. Then I'll show you some other fun things that Monday can actually help us do. I'll show you how you can download templates, then how you can customize them. I'll show you how you can communicate with each other inside Monday.com. I'll also show you how you can start adding automations to your work. And of course, if you have any questions today, that's part of what we're doing here, right? The idea is that we'll be able to not just follow the exact agenda here, but also go off in different directions. I want to make sure that this is useful for you. So if there's things you want to specifically discuss, that's totally fine. And of course, this is also kind of preparation, as Org said, for another session we're hosting together in a couple of weeks here in the Monday offices, to which you are all invited. And we're very interested to hear, what kind of topics are going to be interesting to you so that we can build the content of that in-person training day. So I'll begin with a quick intro. Hi, everyone. Alex. I've been working at Monday here in Tel Aviv for about 3 years, living in Israel for 7 years, but originally from New Zealand. So, Ken, thanks all for explaining. אם יש שאלות בעברית, זה בסדר, אבל העבודה שלי בגדול זה באנגלית. As all the training I'm doing is for organizations internationally. I've led big implementations for, UNICEF and WHO Foundation, but also projects here in Israel. After October 7th, for example, one example of a project I led was an organization called Yeladenu, which was providing activities for the kids who were not able to study and live their normal lives in Otef Aza, B'Tzafon. But mostly my work is with small nonprofits, not doing a big implementation for a United Nations body. Mostly I'm doing trainings for small nonprofits anywhere in the world they may be. And a lot of this work is online. Occasionally it's in person, which is fun. I'm really passionate about nonprofits and the work that you're all doing. I think that, people working on nonprofits are superheroes, and it's a real privilege to be able to help you. I hope, even making your days 1 or 2% easier. That's why we do what we do. And a fun fact, Kuzbara and me do not get along. I don't know if anyone else feels this way. They say there's something like genetic that means it tastes strange, but in a session like this with 30 people, there's always one person at least who feels the same way as me. So that's me. Now, much more important, much more interesting. What is Monday.com, right? Let's start from the very, very beginning. In one sentence, Monday is a cloud-based software platform where teams can build custom workflows. Okay, but what does that mean? What really is going on here? Basically, any kind of work you need to do can be done on Monday. And it's pretty amazing how diverse the kind of work people are doing on Monday. Everything from huge international companies down to small nonprofits across all different industries and different workflows. And I think the reason Monday is able to do that is because it is very flexible and very easy to customize. That's really what makes Monday different. I don't know if anyone's used Salesforce or HubSpot or some of these other project management systems where you're given a kind of database and you fill in the information. And that's how it works. There's not really the ability to change that or build something new. What's great about Monday is that we can start with something simple and it can get more complicated. Or you can start with a template and then begin to customize it. And all of that is easy to do. And what I hope to do today isn't to show you exactly how to manage donors or exactly how to organize an event. What I hope to do is show you what tools are out there and to build some confidence so that you can go and do some of these things on your own. You don't need weeks and weeks and weeks of training to use Monday, right? With a couple of sessions like this and being shown the path, you can quite quickly become competent on Monday and start having fun and building stuff on your own. That's the idea. So I thought what we could actually do to begin is come in here to my account. And this is where we'll start things off with this add item to workspace button. And I'm going to add, first of all, a form. And in this form, I'm going to add just 4 or 5 different questions. And I'm then going to share this form with you all, just to show you some of the things that Monday can do. Now, the first point is that we can actually build this form using AI. Today, I think I want to actually build it myself, but you can actually type out here, you know, something like this. I'm building a volunteer recruitment form, and Monday will do its magic and build one for you. But let's build it from scratch today. I think that's going to be more useful. And I would love actually your help to do this. Does anybody have any suggestions of things you would like to know about the people in the Zoom today? It can be something fun, something stupid, something professional, whatever you want. We can work with that, and we'll see what kind of people we have on the call today. So anyone have any questions? You can either unmute yourself or you can write a suggestion for me in the chat. Why don't I get us started? I'll click here on Edit Form, and I'm going to do a very obvious one, right? The first question is just going to be a simple text question. I'm going to ask the question, what is your organization called? Great. So that's like the most basic way of running. It doesn't like my American spelling. It wants me to be a good Kiwi, spelling like the English. What is your organization called? Very simple question. And the nice thing about these forms is that it's going to correspond with a database, with a board. So if anyone's used Google Forms before, this part's fairly similar to Google, but the really magical thing happens afterwards when the information can be displayed and analyzed much more easily. All right, come on, folks. Any other questions? Anything else you'd like me to ask?
Are you currently using Monday?
Okay, great question. So for this one, I'm going to click on the plus, and I have an option of different types of questions, right? This one I'd love to do a single select. I'm going to provide the possible answers, and the person filling out the form can only pick one of those options, single select. So I will say, are you currently using Monday? And the options are going to be yes or no. I'm going to remove this option. Again, it's very easy to customize. Okay, I'm going to ask one more question of my own while you're still thinking, perhaps. I'm going to add here a location column. And I'm going to ask the question, where is your nonprofit based, right? Now, the nice thing about this, location question. I said earlier location column. It's a location question, but it's also created for me a location column on my board. I'll show you in a moment. And because it's this specific type of question, it's going to have geodata built into it. And that geographic information can be used on a map, and we're actually going to be able to see where people are based, which is pretty cool. Okay, any other questions? Anything at all, my friends? It can be, like I said, something fun, something serious, whatever you want.
Have you visited New Zealand?
Okay, great. All right, there we go. 2 good ones. And these are also, what are your favorite herbs? I like this. So let's do multi-select for this one. What are your favorite herbs? This is really going to test everyone's knowledge of English herbs, right? What are your favorite herbs? Coriander, top of the list. Parsley, petrovilia, thyme, timim, rosemary. Okay, you get the idea. And then we can also do here other. Okay. And what I can do is I can add a condition. If, oh, why does it say couldn't update settings? Let's see it again. Always when you are demonstrating something live, it's going to throw up the challenges. We'll come back to edit. I want to make this conditional so that if somebody answers other, then I can ask another question. And that question will be a short text question. What is your favorite? Maybe we should do a bit more of an Israeli vibe. Let's also add I can reorder these. You see. Okay, there's two more which came in the chat, which is great. Let's add those, and then we can maybe put this form to use. I'll ask a short text question. People can just write in their own information. What is your favorite podcast? Thank you very much, Judy. And copy and paste this one. Are you interested in proposed urban development projects? Let's just leave it simple. Well, yes, no, one. All right, so we build our first very simple form. We can also make this more complex if we need to. I could add here a welcome page. I can upload my own images, my own color scheme. I can put my logo in the background or my logo here. I can give it a name. So we can also come to the settings, or I can also come to the settings here. There's two different places, and I can add other elements. So for example, if this is a registration form for an event, you can set a closing date. So, 6 p.m., but the day before the event goes live, we can close it. Or maybe it's filling up a bus to go visit a specific site, and you've only got 55 seats on the bus. We can set the response limit to 55. All sorts of different controls and interesting things we can do in the settings. But for now, I'm going to come to share the form, and there's a couple of ways that we can share this form. Firstly, I can make the URL shorter, and then I can just copy and paste this URL in the Zoom link. I'll do that. But I can also put here on the screen a QR code. If anybody has a phone in their pocket, probably everybody does, you can take out your phone, scan the QR code, and whether you click on the link in the chat, scan the QR code, there's even an option to get a piece of HTML code, which you can copy and paste into your website. So all of that is free. On the nonprofit plan, you have access to an unlimited number of forms. You don't have to pay anything at all for this. And no matter how people fill out the form, the information will all come in to the same place. And we'll be able to see it all in one simple view, which is really, really cool. And it's part of your Monday flow. Like I said, it's not the same as using Google, whereas the Google form, you get the information and then it's sort of static, it's dead. We can't then do anything with it. Here, we can then add people to our master list of contacts, our CRM. We can automate the reply so that as soon as they've submitted a form, we say, thank you for your form. And there's all sorts of other things we can do to it in terms of analysis, which I'll show you in a moment. So I'm going to remove this from the screen. If anyone still needs to scan, I'll give you 5 more seconds. And here we go. I'm now going to come back to the main table where we can start to see, amazing, the first entry. So this is how the entry looks once it's actually been submitted. So we have the name of the organization in the first column. This is a status column, which has been customized. Very cool. And we can see new entries are arriving all the time. Thank you very much to folks from Tel Aviv University, from the Arava Institute, Chaim V'Sviva. and so on and so on. You can see the addresses here. And you'll note that people can enter this in whatever format they want. You can put a very specific street address. You can put a city, a country, a region, and the location column can interpret this. You can even, by the way, and this is very relevant for environmental organizations, you can even put in GPS coordinates. I, for example, did an implementation with an organization in India that was distributing this very advanced eco-friendly fertilizer. And they wanted to know exactly in which fields the fertilizer had been distributed. So they could enter in the digital GPS coordinates and plot on a map where exactly the fertilizer had been distributed. So if you're working in the field where there aren't street addresses, this is a really nice option. Okay, we can see here people's favorite herbs, and I can rename this to herbs. I can rename this to podcast. This can be, what was this one? This was how did I not remember basil? Yeah, that's an important one, huh? I'm also a big basil fan. Give me basil any day over coriander. So look, this is great. And as the information's coming in, it's nice to see it. But we can even take this one step further. Along the top here, we have different views. So we have the first main table. That's what we see here. We have the form, which is really just a different view, a different way of seeing the same information. Each question is corresponding to a column. We also have here a way to see every individual entry one by one. These can be exported as PDFs or printed if you need to. And we can also come to add another view. For example, I can add charts. And we can see how many people have given each of these responses. This was the question Monday. So, and we can rename this to Monday. Now, this is also completely customizable. So we can change what this means, right? I could easily come into the three dots and settings and ask it to show me something else, right? In the x-axis, so the axis down the bottom here, maybe I don't want to see this question about being a current Monday user. I want to see the question of whether you support or whether you are interested in proposed urban development projects. So now this has changed to urban dev project interest. Right, and I can have both of those graphs side by side. One that I really love, I'll add here another widget, is the map widget. I just came to widget, searched for the word map, and with one click I can add it. And automatically, the map widget is going to look to see if I have any location data already on my board. And because I do, it's already taken that data and plotted it out on the map. So you can see where people are based. Now, if I click on the specific pin, it's going to give me a bit more information. Presuming these folks are Young Other Institute. Here we go. We can even then see the item or see the street view of that specific place. If somebody's put in a generic address like Tel Aviv, it's going to put a pin in like the center of Tel Aviv, wherever the map thinks that is, or the center of Israel if you write Israel, for example. But you can imagine how useful this could be if you want to plan on a map where different interventions have happened, where your volunteers live, where the pollution spills have taken place, all sorts of cool things like that. So welcome everybody from all across the country. It's great to see a real spread of people who have joined us today. And I hope that this has given you a bit of an inspiration. Okay, what can I do in my organization that uses forms and these charts and widgets? Again, free and unlimited on Monday.com's nonprofit plan. And to answer one of the other questions that just came in the chat, can these be used in a website from Adi? Yes, they can. So if I come back to the form and I click here on share form, I showed you the option to copy and paste a link. I showed you the option to take a QR code. Here is where you find the embed code. So if you have your own website, you can copy and paste this. You do not need to be a computer programmer, and you can actually put that into your website. Really, really easy to do that. And then one of your pages will just be this Monday form. And that's great because if somebody's, browsing your site and they want to, request more information about your organization, they fill out the form. It's in the website. It's got the same brand and look and feel of your website. And once they've submitted the form, they stay on your website. They continue browsing. They're not taken away somewhere else. So it's very easy to do. And to repeat, every single form in Monday comes with its own unique link, its own unique QR code, its own unique embed code. All of that stuff is free and included. So yeah, very, very cool. Another question from the chat. Can persons who do not have a Monday.com account respond and participate in the project? Yes, absolutely. That's the beautiful thing about the form. This is just a regular website, right? I sent that to everyone in the Zoom chat. You don't need to have been a Monday user already. As long as you have the ability to click a link on your phone or on the computer, you can fill it out. It's very user-friendly. You can make it more complex or make it quite simple like our one was. So it's something which anyone can do, really. As long as they have access to the phone and the internet, they can fill it out really, really straightforward. Now, if they wanted to do more, right, if you wanted to invite someone into your Monday account to actually work with you, it's maybe a good time to answer that question as well. The forms are external. Anyone can fill them out. But on the Monday.com nonprofit program, you have 10 free seats. So you and 9 colleagues can all use the platform for free. Once you've created your account, it will be up here, this button. You can invite new people to your account. Admins and members are very similar. It's just the level of control, but they can basically see everything in the account unless you choose to make it private. But there are 2 other user types which are quite useful, especially for nonprofits. One of them is viewer. Now, as the name suggests, it's read only. Viewers can't make any changes. They only get to see stuff. But the cool thing about viewers is that they are free and unlimited. And in the nonprofit world, a classic use for a viewer would be a board member, right? Maybe you have 10 staff who are actually working with you, another 10 board members. The board members aren't actually in the projects. They're not in the day-to-day work, but they do want to be able to see what's going on in the organization. They're people you trust, so you invite them into your account as viewers. They can see everything, but they can't make changes. The other really interesting user type, which is not listed there. I'm not a very good salesperson because I'm giving away all of Monday's secrets here. But there's another user type which can make changes, which are free and unlimited. That is a guest. If you want someone who doesn't take up one of your seats to be able to do stuff on Monday, you can invite them as a guest only to specific boards. So over here on the left-hand side, you can see tons of different boards that I have in my account, right? Here's the stuff I'm doing around managing volunteers. Here's what we just created ourselves. So if you wanted to be able to invite someone to your account to be able to actually make changes to the form, not just to fill it out, but to be able to, add their own questions and see the results, you can come here to the 3 dots here. Then we will change the type of this from being a main board. That's what it is by default, meaning anyone you've invited to your account will see it. By the way, I could also make it private so that it's only visible to me or individuals that I've invited. But I can also make it shareable. And once I've done that, this little icon will appear as it says the board is now shareable. And when I click on this button that says invite, I can invite not only people from within my account, but also board guests. And board guests are external people. I can put in any email address I want here. And if I was to invite Amy Pearson, she doesn't work at my organization. She's an external person. But if I invite Amy, she will then be able to do what any other user can do in this specific board. She won't see what else is going on in the account. She won't be able to create her own stuff. But on this board, She'll be able to add items, change statuses, communicate, everything. And I pay nothing for Amy to do that. Guests, again, are free and unlimited. So thank you very much for that question. It was perfect. Forms can be filled out by truly anyone. You just share the public link. You can invite 10 people to your account for free. And if you need more people, you have a couple of options. You can invite them as guests, free and unlimited to individual boards. Viewers, free and unlimited. They can see everything but not make changes. Or, of course, you can just buy extra seats. You also get a massive discount on those extra seats. You get 70% discount on extra seats if you do need them. And yeah, for Shaked, your question in the chat, no, Amy is not one of those 10 people. Again, she's free and unlimited, not part of the original 10 if you invite someone as a guest. So I think we've talked a little bit there about Monday, but it would probably be a good idea to explain how you get into this and create your own account, because that is probably the most important thing. So as I pasted in the chat earlier, there's a link which you can click to create your account. When you do that, you'll be given a 2-week free trial. Everyone, in fact, gets a 2-week free trial. You could be, Elon Musk, the richest man in the world. You want to open a Monday account for your company, we'll give you 2 weeks for free. After 2 weeks, you have to pick a paid plan. Usually, if you are a nonprofit, an amuta, you can come here to our eligibility page. This is where you can apply to turn your Monday.com account into a free nonprofit Monday.com account. So you do need to have an account already. You can check out our eligibility criteria here. There are certain organizations that would not be eligible. If you're practicing discrimination, or you are a university, there are some restrictions around that. I saw we had some folks from universities, so you need to check this. But even if you're not sure, if you are an organization of some sort, it's worth applying. The application process is really easy. It takes 5 minutes. We just need to know, what is your Monday.com account? What is your nonprofit's name? We have a huge database of over thousands and thousands of nonprofits that are listed there. And who are you? And we have an organization who runs checks to assume the nonprofits are all obeying these different criteria. And if you're found to be eligible, behind the scenes, we'll switch your account onto the nonprofit plan. And then you get those 10 seats for free automatically. As it says here, you get a 70% discount if you need to buy extra seats. So these are completely, full access people, not the same as a guest or a viewer. That will be just like those first free 10 ones. And we have in Israel just over 1,000 organizations who are already taking advantage of this. Around the world, we have more than 23,000 organizations who are working every day on Monday. And there is also the option to upgrade to our very highest level, which is enterprise. There are a few features there, but like I said, I'm not a very good salesperson. I don't think you need to pay more for enterprise. Most nonprofits are here paying nothing. It's very robust, unlimited forms, unlimited boards, all that kind of stuff. In terms of the work you do, you're very free. So probably that will be enough, I would assume.
Alexander?
Yeah, go ahead. Was there a question?
Thanks. Can I go back to Amy? I'm trying to understand what is the board exactly. What can you do in it? Is it a table? Does it respond to others? And I wanted to ask you if you treat Monday as databases as well. Like how big would you? How big of a data would you put on Monday?
Cool, great questions. Okay, perfect. So what is a board? Love that question. Any of these elements here that I'm seeing on the left-hand side, that's really what we're talking about when we invite a guest. So I've just invited a guest to look at this thing called new form. Everything within this screen on the right, she will be able to see. The form itself, the table, the charts, they're all part of the same. These are called views. And they're called views because they're just a different way of looking at the same information, right? The information I'm seeing in this map is actually the same information as I see in the table. And the questions in the form are the same questions that correspond to these columns. So this thing on the right-hand side, this is what I've invited a guest to. Now, I could, of course, take my master list of students. This is just something else I was playing with earlier on. I could also make this shareable. And then I could invite my guest to this as well. You're not restricted to inviting a guest to only one board. You can invite as many guests as you want to as many boards as you want. It's just a manual process. But when you invite, like when we invited Amy, we would be inviting her just to this board, which comes with all these different views. And your next question about Monday as a database. So Monday has a limit of 10,000 items per board. So if I was using this form, I could have 10,000 people give me an answer. And although that's the limit on one board, there's actually no limit to the number of boards you can have. We have that 10,000 limit just to just for performance, basically. When you get up to those big numbers, things can get a little bit slow. The database takes a while to load. So that's why we put this 10,000 limit in. You can always create a second board. You know, if you have 20,000 people in your database, you can have, you know, database A to M for the first people and database N to Z, or database 2025, database 2024, and you can have more than one. So there's really no limit to the amount of data you can store on Monday, but in one specific board, the limit is 10,000 items. So hopefully that answers your questions. Adi, did you have any follow-up or clarification questions there?
If it's not based on a form, if it's just database, and if I have a few tables that I need to correspond to each other, is this in a board? Is it different boards?
So you can have connections between boards. So one example would be like this one. I have here my volunteer database. So this is where I'm listing all my volunteers, but I also have another board where I'm tracking, for example, their feedback. So after a piece of work, I asked the volunteers using a form, like, how was it for you? Did you find it fulfilling? What suggestions do you have? So this is where I have all of the entries from the forms listed. And then this column here is called a connect board column. So let's just actually add one more form response in here. Let's just do a quick test. Okay, this is my name, Alex. This is my answer. Let's just do something random. Submit it like so. Cool, so this is my form. I see the entry here. And when I click into the connect board column, I see all the volunteers from my database. So I can connect the entry here from Alex to the volunteer called Alex. And we can actually automate that as well. I wanted to show you it manually, but we can add an automation so that if I'm already in the database, it'll just make the connection for me. But yeah, we can connect things across multiple databases, no problem. If you have lists of people, maybe a common use case is like a list of people, which is your master contact list, and then all the different things they've done with you. Maybe they've attended different events or they've donated certain amounts of money. You know, you can have that connecting back to the main database.
So you created a few boards and put them under one folder, which is volunteer management? Okay.
Yeah, yes, but the folder here, that's purely kind of an organization tool, right? Because they're in this folder, it doesn't automatically connect them. To connect them, you need to have this column here. So I
just for order.
It's called a connect board column. So that's where the boards can be connected.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So
another question.
So Alex, can we continue to ask questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Guido. No problem.
Thanks a lot. So another one from Down Under, your neighbor across from in Australia, from Echo Piece. A question, our interest is more for project management.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent are the project management features free? When 10 users are given for free for project management, that doesn't really help us if we have a lot more staff. We'd want all staff to be able to access and be involved in project management. So if you can clarify the role for NGOs on project management.
Yep, absolutely. So everything we're talking about here is true for any type of work, right? At the moment, we've kind of got down this track of people and forms and CRMs, but project management, everything we've said applies equally, right? It's the same basic layout here for any kind of work that we happen to be doing. Maybe I'll actually take your question, Gidon, and segue into the next thing I was going to show, which is, you know, downloading templates and that kind of thing. So let's take a look at where we can find templates, and we'll use project management as an example for that. So there's two main places that we can find templates. The first is by clicking here on the plus and visiting the template center. And there are like hundreds of templates here, including categorized into different areas. There's a nonprofit category. There's also a project management category. And all of these templates are downloadable for free as many times as you want. And you can get different ideas from them and so on. There's also another space where you can get templates called mondayspaces.com. Okay, so the first one was inside the platform. This is the template center. The difference is that these ones are created by users, right, by regular people. And here we do have, you know, also categories, including a nonprofit category. And I would love to show you a very simple one that I've built. By the way, this is the volunteer one that we just had a brief look at there. The one I wanted to show you is this one, task management, which is kind of the first step of project management. It's like the beginner baby journey. But that's also free. There's also a project management template that I built here. You can click on the black button that says Get Space, and it will download this into your account. So I just need to accept the terms and conditions, and we are good to go. So those 10 users that we talked about, you know, they can work on any type of work, right? They can work on your volunteer list or your recruitment form or a certain project that they're managing. Now, if you're a bigger organization, you're right, you probably will need more seats. And that's why we provide that really, really good discount, you know, 70%. And I know you won't misunderstand my accent, but some people think I'm saying 17. No, 70%. It's a game changer, right? So if you are an organization of 30, 40, 50 people, you can buy them all a seat, and then they can all work collaboratively together at a fraction of the cost that you would otherwise. And yeah, I mean, this is a very sort of basic way to get started when we're talking about managing tasks, but a more complex project would also have a pretty sort of similar basic sort of structure to it. So each of the things we need to complete here are tasks that we've written down. At the moment, they're kind of ad hoc. You know, they're not connected to one another. There's not really a connection between signing the lease for the distribution center and reserving the venue for the fundraising event, right? These are just, it's like my brain is too full, I put the tasks down here. That's the main difference, I guess, when you start talking about project management, is that all of the tasks in the project will be part of the bigger whole. But you can design a board the way you want to. This is also coming back to this kind of flexibility thing. At the moment, in this template that I've just downloaded, we have groups this week, next week, and done. But maybe if you're turning this into a more sophisticated project, you'd want to call something like planning. So you have the planning phase, the execution phase, then we have the follow-up phase. I don't know, up to you, right? You can change this however you want to. You can obviously add more items up to 10,000. If you've already got some information, maybe you've already been working in a different project management system, or you've already got a big spreadsheet of people you want to bring them in, we can also upload those, can import them from a spreadsheet very easily. And then all of these columns here are customizable. So again, this is a very classic kind of list of columns for managing tasks or projects. We have a person in charge. So this is where I see all the different people in my team. So I can assign interviewing the new volunteer to Sarah, finishing the grant application is on Iran. I'm in charge of signing the lease, and seeing those pictures there is an amazing way of ensuring ownership. People really don't want to be the one face marking pending or not yet completed. But it also provides like a clear, if you need to delegate, it's very clear where you've delegated it to. So it's a nice feature. These columns here are actually the same column type, right? This is the status column that we've customized to have a few extra labels to track the status of this task. But this one is actually also a status column. It's just showing here the priority of the task. And again, I customized that myself. By the way, in our previous example, when we had, have you already been using Monday, yes or no, there was also a status column. And then we have a due date column. So this one's very basic. You just pick the date, right? Now, all of this works for task management, but for project management as well. That really is the first and kind of most classic use case for Monday. Project management is what most people think Monday is. It's a project management tool, which it is, but it's also so much more. It's all these other things. Now, I didn't know if I wanted to get into this because it can be a bit confusing, but I think it's worth mentioning. So until about a year and a half ago, Monday.com was a one product company, meaning what did Monday.com make? It made a product called Monday.com. But if you look at, the biggest, most successful companies, Google and Microsoft, they're all making multiple products, right? Business-wise, that makes a lot of sense. And Monday went down the same path. So now there are 4 different products based on the same infrastructure. They look and feel roughly the same, but they have some unique features. If you click up here on the 9 dots, you can switch between products. And at the moment, we've been working in Monday's CRM, but there are other products here which may or may not be interesting for you. And the cool thing about Monday's nonprofit program is that we have been given approval to include each one of the products in the nonprofit offering. So you actually don't get 10 free seats. You get 10 free seats on each of the 4 products. So if you've got a team that's really exclusively working on your CRM, they could be 10 people who are different from the 10 people working on your projects. Now, you can manage projects in the CRM product. This is what I mean by it starts to get a little bit confusing, but there are some special features which are available only in each one of the products. So now I've switched here to Monday's work management. Let's go to my demo workspace, where maybe I'm managing my grants, okay? And the logo here is different, and there are also a few different features. If I want to move things between work management and the CRM, it's very easy. So don't worry too much about this, right? It's not a problem if you've started working in one or the other. You can come to the 3 dots here and you can move it just as easily between a little folder here or a different product. Karen asks, what are the different features? Well, there's a lot of them, so I won't mention all of them, but one very useful one for managing people is the ability to send mass emails. So for example, in the CRM product, I can simply click like this, people that I want to contact, and then I can come here to mass emails. And I can send them an email from right here within Monday. Now I can remove the Monday branding if I want to. And I can also be dynamic with the fields that I'm using from the board. So I can say things like, hi, item name, and it will put in the person's name. You began as a volunteer with us on submission date, and your current status is current status. And it will pull that information from the board. I can then sync it with my email account, Gmail, or Outlook, no problem. And it will then send from directly here. It'll live, the sent email will live both in my regular inbox and outbox and in my Monday account. Same thing if someone replies. So you kind of get the best of both worlds, and you can track the email. So you can see if it was opened. Usually you need to pay more money for, a big email marketing tool to get that, right? Gmail and Outlook don't provide that for free, but we can do that here. You can also track the performance of campaigns, if you're sending out campaigns, which is pretty cool. Yeah, Shakir is right. Wow is the word. Forms are not available only in work management. No, you can also have forms in the CRM. We are here in the CRM. The form that we filled out is in the CRM. There's 4 core products. So just to finish the product talk, work management is kind of what Monday used to be. Until recently, that's all there was. The CRM has these kind of people-specific features that have been added. So anytime you're working with volunteers or donors, it's good to work in the CRM. The third product is maybe less relevant for nonprofits. It's called Monday Dev. It's really specifically for like building products. You know, if you're doing sprints to iterate on a product and a design, then Monday Dev is for you. And then the fourth one is called Monday Service, which is kind of a ticketing software. So a classic example would be a big company which has an IT department. Someone fills out a ticket for, you know, requesting some help. It goes into the system. They can then analyze it, prioritize it. Market is done. But there are some nonprofits who are, you know, providing a service for whom Monday Service may also be useful. And like I said, all 4 of those products are available for free. You have access to them if you are on the nonprofit. Okay, there's a few more questions I want to kind of circle back to on the chat. So Karen asked, if I accidentally click on a project management tab and not a task management tab, will it automatically synchronize the tables for me? It won't automatically synchronize anything without you telling it to do that. But we can sync anything we want to.
Can you show how to do it? Because I need to undo it. I'm not sure. I can't remember synchronizing them, so I don't know how it happened.
And can you explain a little bit more about what happened so I can really understand?
So I made a page for tasks, and it has more than one table on it, and they're connected to each other, which I don't want them to be.
So you
maybe because I duplicated them instead of starting a new one. I'm not sure why exactly, but anything I do in one happens in the other 2, although they're different.
Something like this, we have like these different areas here.
Right, exactly.
Okay, cool. So great question. So what we're looking at here, I'll give you like the Monday terminology. All of what you see here is a board, okay? Within each of the boards, we can have different groups. So, you know, we started customizing this template that I downloaded, but we don't have to have 3 groups. We can have 4 or 5 or 1 and add more groups. I can delete a group. A group is designed to organize the items you have in a board. And so the columns will always, within one board, be the same for multiple groups. So if I was to, you know, change the name of this column from person in charge to manager, it will change here, here, and here as well. So that's by design. That's not a mistake. That is the way it's supposed to work. If that's frustrating and you're finding like, oh, I'm trying to do something and I want it to be, you know, different in this group from that group, probably what's happening is you're trying to put too much into one board, right? People want to see it in the same place, and that's kind of, you know, the way you'd maybe design a spreadsheet in Excel is you just have a different heading, right? And you'd see it side by side. What you really need to do in Monday is just create over here a different board. And in a different board, you can have different column names, different groups, no problem. The reason it's like that is because in a board like this, we want all of the items to be able to relate to each other. And for them to be able to relate to each other, they need to have the same potential for information. They need to all be able to have a manager column. They all need to be able to have a priority column and a status column. If one of them doesn't, then it won't work, for example, for an automation. But that's why you can have as many boards as you want. You just come over here and add another board. You know, if you're trying to manage your tasks and your projects, then I would suggest have one board for your tasks where the columns can have a certain name, and then a different one for your projects where they can be totally, you know, organized in a different way.
Thank you.
Cool. Okay, a question about the language. Okay, so you can change the language Monday is in. Hebrew is not one of the languages we can change it to, however. If you come up here to your avatar and then your administration, you can, somewhere here, is it customization? Maybe general. I don't want to spend too long on this because it is there somewhere. It's in one of these menus anyway. You can change the language. There's about 8 or 9 different languages you can have. Like I said, unfortunately, Hebrew is not one of them, even though Monday's an Israeli company. They're also smart about where they put their energy. And unfortunately, Hebrew is just not the biggest market out there. However, you can change all of the stuff that's changeable to any language that you want to. I don't have to call this status. I can change my keyboard to Hebrew, and you're going to see if I can spell in Hebrew. Status. Oops, I didn't change the keyboard. Status. Is that how you spell status? I speak like a 5-year-old and I spell like a 1-year-old in Hebrew. But yeah, I can change this, no problem. I can change the content of what I'm actually working on to any language I want. Hebrew, any language. The basic infrastructure, you know, the stuff over here and your admin menu, that would still remain in English or French or Chinese or, you know, one of the 12 languages or whatever I said we actually work in. But the content you're working on, communication with your team, that can all be in Hebrew for sure. You know, maybe folks at Chaim V'Sviva or any of the other organizations who are already working can, you know, share their board with you, and you'll see that that's very user-friendly, so no problem there. I'm aware we have just a couple of minutes left and there's still a few unanswered questions, so I really want to try and get through all the questions today. How can you send reminders and how can you communicate between team members? So I'll do this quite quickly, but hopefully it'll be clear enough. Communication on Monday is very cool. In the old days, when you wrote a WhatsApp message or an email, you found the person you wanted to write to, and then you wrote the message. And that was great if you wanted to see everything you've ever said to one person. But in the work setting, that's actually not very helpful, because what I want to know is, what was I talking about? So we've switched the communication around in Monday. Here, if I'm talking about finishing the grant application, I go to the grant application and I click on the item here, and this is where I can write updates or communicate with my team members. So I could say something generic like this, why is my keyboard not working? Oh, it's because I'm in Hebrew. This is an important grant. Okay, just a generic update. It's a note, but it's clear who's written it and when. But I can also type the @ key and tag a colleague. Okay, then Sarah will get a notification saying someone's written to you in Monday, and we come here and we can see the thread of communication about this thing. That's really useful because it means if Sarah gets sick or moves to another organization or resigns, her information doesn't go away with her because it's all listed here. We can see very clearly who has said what, and it's amazing to work in this very transparent way. And of course, we can also automate and be reminded about things in that sense as well. So this will be the fastest automations training I've ever done in my life, but they live up here next to the robot. You can have 25,000 automations every month in your account. So if it can be automated, I recommend you to automate it. But the classic one would be something like this. We can use a template or we can build from scratch. And as we're short on time, I can say when the due date arrives, even maybe a day before the due date arrives, I want to notify someone. What's the notification going to say? It'll say, hi, manager, just like we did with the email earlier. The task item name is due tomorrow. Its current status is status, and so on and so on. And then who am I going to be notifying? It could be a specific person. If there's always going to be the same person who's receiving this notification, you can choose them from your list, or you can choose whoever you've assigned this task to in your book. So that's going to pick the person in the manager column. So that's how we would set up a notification. Now, any of the tasks on this board, one day before this date arrives, that notification will go out. But of course, automations are very fun, very flexible. There's a lot we can do with those automations and controlling them and updating things automatically. Okay, my friends, we've reached the 1 hour mark and I want to be respectful of everybody's time. So I am going to wrap things up there, but please don't forget, this is not the end of our collaboration. As Or and I mentioned at the beginning, you're all invited to a future session, which we'll be holding together in the Monday offices. So maybe Or I can pass the mic back to you if you want to give a little pitch for that just before we wrap things up today.
Okay, so first, great thanks to you, Alex. It's been, I feel it's been a great session. Also, I took some notes to my own work. I hope, great. I hope all of you took some notes for your own work as well. And as Alex said, I sent in the chat the invitation and the details for the next session. So I would love to invite you guys. Thank you for all of you for your time that you joined us this morning. We'll send you a summary and the recording of this webinar, along with invitation to the next session in the mail by the next few days. And also, I have sent my number and details, with my contact details in the chat. You're all welcome to reach me with any idea or any question. Alex, you want to add something?
I'll just say thank you very much to Chaim Vesviva for having us. And thank you, everyone, for the amazing work you're doing. I don't think there's any work more important than environmental work, and I truly, truly mean that. And, you know, if Monday can make that work, like I said at the beginning, 1 or 2% easier, then it would be a real privilege. And I hope that we can be a partner in your journey. So thank you very much for the work you're doing. And maybe we'll see you again in a couple of weeks in the Monday offices.
Amazing. Thank you, guys. Have a nice day.
Yom tov l'kulam.